name's Rachel, and today I'm going to talk about why if you love this movie, then you should read this book. They have a lot of comparisons, and I will draw them today, but it's not exact. This is like for adults, and this is a YA book. Like, first and foremost, want to get that out of the way. Oh man, my back hurts today. I'm old. Okay, let me pull up my notes. There are so many parallels here. But first and foremost, I think that if you love them, you will like this book. So this book was pitched as The Conjuring meets Sadie. Now, I have not had any experience with The Conjuring. Sadie, I had a bit of an episode with after I finished it where I cried hysterically until I had to put my head between my knees and do deep breaths, and I scared my husband a little bit, so that was fun. And the comparison that is drawing here is that Sadie is told in part by the guy who's like sort of investigating, trying to find out what happened to Sadie, and Sadie herself narrating what happened to her. So it's told in like a split timeline, but the guy narrating is doing it in a podcast form, and that's the comparison being drawn here. So there is a podcast, but it takes much more of a back seat than the podcast aspect of Sadie. So if you're going in hoping to see a lot of that, you're going to be disappointed. So our main character is 17-year-old Dare Chase, and she previously had a YouTube channel with her boyfriend. They broke up several months before the events of this book, and she has started a podcast called Attachments, where she's going to, similar to what she did with her boyfriend, investigate the paranormal, even though she doesn't believe in the paranormal, and she's going to do that in podcast form. She got a tip to check out this haunted house called Arlington, and she actually gets a summer internship helping to remodel the place, but she's actually there to investigate for her podcast. And this manor that she's, investigating and working at is supposed to be haunted by the ghost of Atheline Bell, and Atheline Bell drowned in the big lake next to Arlington. She thinks that this points to like just a regular old murder, since she doesn't believe in the supernatural. So she goes to investigate and try to prove that it was just a murder. So the first sort of parallel, as you can see, is Dare is there to work, similar to our main character in Bly Manor. She shows up at the house to do a job. Dare knows that the house is supposedly haunted, doesn't believe in that. The main character of Bly Manor does not know that, but they're both showing up at a house to work. So while work is going on, there is also hauntings going on, and also a blooming sapphic romance. I don't think I'm ever gonna get over Bly Manor, am I? There are similar elements outside of the haunted house elements. So I did already mention the lake. There is a haunted lake, as well as a room that's not really supposed to be entered. The lake in particular is a crucial feature. Much like in Bly Manor, it sort of takes on this quality where it starts to feel more and more like its own sentient character, its own being, which is really unsettling. There's also a lot of exploration of human connection, similar with Bly Manor. In Bly Manor, it was sort of told throughout the stories of the ghosts at Bly, and we see that also here at Arlington, which is something that I deeply appreciate. Not just having boo, scary you ghosts, but I want to know the underlying depth of how these spirits got to be where they are. And similar to the show, the author really takes patience and care in building up to the right moment to deliver these moments that are really terrifying experiences. The way that this book does horror, especially in the beginning, much like the TV show actually, is more of this psychological experience where you're like, okay, is this a ghost or is this something else? Is this somebody trying to gaslight me? Another parallel I found is how well each character is used within the story. One of my favorite parts of Bly were the sort of side characters. The cook, the maid, the house caretaker, and obviously the gardener, who becomes a central point. You really get into each character's part of the story, even if it means that we're leaving the central plot and sort of moving backwards. I thought that they were really well utilized. That is kind of done here in The Girls Are Never Gone. Oh my god, I never said the book's name or the author. Oh god. This book is The Girls Are Never Gone by Sarah Glenn Marsh, who is also the author of Song of the Dead and Reign of the Fallen, which is a fantasy duology about different kinds of magic, including necromancy magic, and it's queer. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, definitely check it out. I really liked the first book. I really felt like if you were to take out any of the other people who are present at Arlington, the story would not have worked as well. So for instance, there is not only the sapphic love interest of our main character Dare, but also their friend Hope, who is also working on the house to house with them and is sort of their like real connection to the town that Arlington is in. There's also, I forget names, I'm so sorry, but the lady who works for the historical society of the town, and our love interest's mother, who is responsible for funding this project to restore this house. And all of them, I feel like, were utilized very well and are crucial to the story. If they were not there, it wouldn't have worked as well. The story really benefited from all of them being there. There really were no throwaway characters. Speaking of characters, let me just talk real quick about the romance in this because it really is so precious. Just like with Bly, even though there's a haunting going on, there is like real care taken in them trying to find time to just like be together and like learn about each other in this really difficult environment, and I found that so sweet and so well done, especially because our main character is bisexual, but this is the first time that she's ever dated a girl, so she's kind of working through her feelings on that. I really just appreciated the way that this like blossoming romance was explored. It just was so well done and I so appreciate it. Something that is not paralleled, but I want to bring it up anyway because I think that it's great. Our main character Dare is a type 1 diabetic, so is the author, and this is something that I never see in books. She also has a service dog named Waffles, and this is a regular part of Dare's everyday life, so she's, you know, thinking about in experiences like, oh snap, I'm now locked in this room. What if I need my insulin? What's going to happen to me? And I think that anybody who reads this who is a type 1 diabetic will really feel seen, and anybody who has a service dog as well will feel really seen by this book, which I think is great. I really hope that more authors take the time and care to add in characters who have chronic illnesses in order to give that representation to people who don't normally get to see themselves reflected in books. Similar to Bly, again, this had a very bittersweet ending. I don't want to go into details, but there's really no way to describe it other than bittersweet. Similar to Bly, again, it will make you feel things. And it also sort of left the door open for, there were sort of like unanswered questions, and the author at the end sort of like left the door open for the characters to return to Bly. So what? To return to Arlington? I'm already getting them mixed up. Crap. I want to read a paragraph about, it's just like, it sort of showcases how she ties in her being sapphic and being a type 1 diabetic and having these experiences. So it says, I've survived coming out to my family, a broken heart, a life-changing diagnosis, and now a haunting. I face my biggest fear every day when I pick up a needle and push it into my own stomach. I used to think my disease made me weak, vulnerable, but now I realize there's something it's taught me. I can rely on me. Those needles, my doses, all the decisions are in my hands, and so far I have a pretty good track record when it comes to keeping myself alive. I have the resilience that's kept me here, kept me hoping and dreaming when just getting out of bed sounded impossible. I don't need anyone else to save me. I thought that was so good. And I think that although this is not a film, this is obviously a book, I think it does a really good job of making you feel similarly how you feel when you're driving, well, not when you're driving, when you're watching the characters walk up or drive up to Bly on that long gravel driveway and they're going up and it's like, man, this house is like, oh, just looking at it is really unsettling. She does a really good job of writing it so that you feel similar ways to when you're watching Haunting of Bly Manor. So for an example, it says, somehow this spirit has become fully entwined with the decaying structure, one no longer able to be separated from the other by even the most precise surgeon's hand. When the walls creak, her bones ache. Broken windows needle her like open sores, oozing mold and stale air. And when the house remembers, it cuts so deep it lays bare the howling fury that lives in the place where her heart should be. So that's my review. I think that if you liked Bly Manor for these similar reasons, then you will definitely like The Girls Are Never Gone. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I recommend it to anybody who, my kid, sorry. I recommend it to anybody who likes sapphic spooky stories. Yes, and also creepy lakes, very specifically. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like and subscribe. I will see you next time. Bye!